Penguin Random House Audio presents The Mathews Men, 7 Brothers and the War Against Hitler's U-Boats, by William Geroux, read for you by Arthur Morey. Prologue. A Gift from the Predators. One night in late July 1942, a hardscrabble Cuban fisherman hauled in a hulking shark from the Nicholas Channel off Cuba's northern coast. He gutted it and tore open its stomach with a knife. Out into the humid air spilled a mass of human remains. The fisherman, whose last name was Geroux, would have been surprised, but not shocked. The Nicholas Channel had been the Geroux family's prime shark fishing grounds for years. The narrow passage branched off the old Bahama Channel and the Straits of Florida, where the Gulf Stream ran deep and fast. Its dark blue water teemed with fish. The sharks preyed on them, and the Geroux, in turn, preyed on the sharks. They set deep lines in the channel, suspending bloody chunks of meat on 6-inch hooks from floating oil drums. When they caught big, dangerous sharks, tiger sharks or snout-nosed bull sharks, they beat them to death with long clubs or drove metal spikes through their gills. They gutted them to keep the meat fresh. The sharks made dinners for the fishermen, who could sell any extra to neighbors. In recent months, a new predator had joined the sharks and the fishermen in these killing grounds. German U-boats crept among the islets and mangroves. The submarines did not waste time or torpedoes on fishing boats, but they attacked American merchant ships with single-minded focus. The fishermen had glimpsed the U-boats' thin silhouettes at dawn and heard the rumble of their diesel engines in the dark. They had seen torpedoed vessels flaming like giant torches, and they had seen the U-boats' human victims. Only the previous day, another Cuban fishing boat had picked up survivors of the torpedoed American freighter Onondaga. Other men from that ship were still missing. The Geroux spread out the contents of the shark's belly on the deck of the Donatea. They discovered 2 rings. One was a nondescript pale yellow band of bone. The other was a heavy gold signet ring, cracked on the underside, bearing the initials GDH. The Geroux could have simply crossed themselves and washed their discovery away with a bucket of seawater. Instead, they pulled in their lines and pointed the Donatea toward the stone quays of Havana Harbor to hand over the remains to the authorities. Port officials in Havana thought at first that the remains were leg bones, but closer analysis would reveal they were forearms. Word about them quickly spread around the harbor to the offices of shipping companies and other businesses. Several cargo ships had been torpedoed in nearby waters, including, most recently, the Onondaga. The Onondaga's captain, known as the ship's master, George Dewey Hodges, had understood the danger of sailing in the waters off Cuba. Dewey, as he was called, hailed from the tiny seafaring enclave of Mathews County, Virginia, on the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay. Mariners from Mathews had sailed the world's oceans since colonial times. Now, in the summer of 1942, 7 months after the United States entered World War II, Mathews mariners were under attack by U-boats in the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, the Mediterranean Sea, and the frigid Barents Sea in the Arctic Circle. For the Mathews men aboard the Onondaga, the U-boat war was personal. Dewey's brother Leslie had been killed in a U-boat attack off Cuba only 11 days before the Onondaga was attacked. Dewey's father and 4 of his 6 brothers were aboard merchant ships in waters already littered with torpedoed ships and the remains of men who had sailed them. The Onondaga's second officer, Genius Hudgens, Jr., also a Mathews man, had already survived 1 torpedoing, as had the boatswain, William Hammond, whose 2 brothers were also at sea. Another Mathews sea captain, Mellon Respes, was sailing home aboard the Onondaga as a passenger after having had 2 ships torpedoed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?